Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Happy weekend. It's Saturday, and the markets are insane. And I'm going to recap all the obscure news you may have missed, but the news that matters. And things have just gotten the news that matters, which is kind of crazy. So thank you all for joining. And thank you for Team Metallica and Nick and everybody here in the audience. And I see Gail and Beardy Day and the whole gang. So let's go. Again, this is an exciting story. And also we're going to talk about why Bitcoin is the most exceptional asset. At least that's what Fidelity called it. And what would Fidelity know? They only have like about 8 trillion under management. Anyway, let's jump in. And of course, anything I say here is just edutainment. And don't forget, if you want to get smarter, these next 18 months are going to be very important for how you position yourself. So subscribe to the channel, like the content. When you like this content, you will be referred other content like mine, which will be very good. Pancake Panda, I can see you too as well. So the story today, open up our little book. It is all about, obviously, happy Saturday. Crypto markets above 1.3 billion again. Bitcoin's above 34,800. Things that people thought would retrace back to zero, they haven't. Everything is going up. It's insane. And November is historically a good month. I'll talk about some of that as to why as well. Dominance is 51.7%. Not that we care. Ethereum has done well over the last couple of days, which is good, 1840. And Crypto Fear and Greed Index is up to 68, I think, which is up from 66 last time I mentioned it. So let's go. Let's look at the market over the last week, because we are recapping the week here. This is everything divided by Bitcoin. You can see the dark green there in Solana and Near Protocol, and the Graph had a great week. Graph was one of my early picks from October 2022. And that was when, literally, it's bizarre. That's over a year ago. And that's how long we've been working on our latest model, because that was found by what we call the ATR model. Anyway, enough of that. Hopefully that'll be out real soon. Also, when we look at the big week in fiat, melting fiat terms I like to see. Dark green, again, Solana up another 30%. It's insane. Uniswap took a bit of a pounce too. It's nice to see Ethereum up 3% and Bitcoin up 2.64% for the week. Exactly right now at $34,813. Good stuff. So overall, not bad. There are some things that I'm glad to see are in the red, like BCH. Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin. But when people get FOMO and they know nothing about Bitcoin, they buy Bitcoin Cash because it has a brilliant marketing machine behind it. Remember, anything that's sold or pushed hard, it's not good. Good stuff you got to seek out and find yourself. Remember, golden rule of life, anything. Let's look at Moonvember. So far, it's up only 0.3, 0.4%. Not big, but it's not down. But remember back in September, we all thought September was going to be terrible. And it was for the first 2 weeks, but then it popped in the last 2 weeks. So don't worry about the first couple of days from now on the 4th of November. And a lot of exciting things are going to happen. And I'll show you why. First of all, this is mind-blowing. I talk about hardness. I talk about people becoming long-term holders, people not selling. Well, this just out from Glassnode. 89.1% of all Bitcoin holders have not moved anything. We'll call that 90%. I'm going to round up here. Have not moved any Bitcoin in 90 days. 90% has not moved in 90 days. That is the hardness of this thing. I know for a fact the team at BlackRock are very nervous when they see this. And they say, okay, I'm coming in with tens, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. How am I going to pry this Bitcoin from these fanatical crazies that will not let it go? That is what BlackRock's worried about. If you're on the train, you're going to have a very nice ride. So it is absolutely insane how this thing keeps going up and up and up. Let me pop that up one more time as well. Talk about the previous all-time was 85.6%. And then we had the dip in 2019 to 83.5%. Now, 89.1%, a new record. 90% in 90 days has not moved. That is significant. Also, let's talk about other good news too. 8 million addresses. That doesn't mean people, because people have multiple addresses. But 8 million on-chain addresses hold now over $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. Shout out to the Blockware Solutions team that put this beautiful chart together. Now that is about 0.029 Bitcoin at the current price. And remember, of course, as the Bitcoin price goes up, there'll be more people that will have $1,000 worth, okay? Remember, $1,000 worth of Bitcoin today is only 0.029 of a Bitcoin. Very small. But it shows you how early we are. Just 8 million. Imagine at least of those, the average person has between 3 and maybe 10 addresses. Let's just say it's 3 addresses. That means less than 3 million people on Earth, of 8 billion people, hold more than $1,000 in Bitcoin. That is unlimited potential for wealth storage in Bitcoin, and how it's underscored. Even with a tiny amount of this thing, you will have a huge amount of purchasing power in the future. And that's just because we are so early and this thing is so darn hard. It's unbelievable. Now, speaking of Fidelity, I hinted at them earlier. They came out with an article, Jurian Trimmer, who has only been in Bitcoin since the year 2020, by the way. He's a newbie. But he got in deep. He went deep down the rabbit hole real fast. And he said, Bitcoin is the most exceptional risk reward out there. And he said, it is remarkable. It's 60% annual return paired with obviously high annualized volatility. I always say you want to have volatility if you want return. A 69 standard deviation, which is kind of a 60 vol, 70 vol asset, is what they call it in finance speak. And this is in stark contrast to other assets. It has smashed the S&P 500 index, which gets about, 16%, which is the second best kind of performer out there in terms of asset classes. Bitcoin destroys the second best. Technically, you could say there is no alternative. Some more crazy good stuff there too. Now, the Jurian did put together a beautiful visual too, just to put things in perspective. And it's interesting to see China on the chart as well. But that's Bitcoin up on the top right-hand side. Over time, the risk versus the return. And yes, it is a 69 vol asset, but therefore it's also an average return of 60% on it too. Remember, I always say seatbelts, because on this channel we like disruption, and disruption is volatile. You want the volatile beasts in your stable. Doesn't make sense, but it does when you see charts like this. So thank you all for listening. Now, a bit more Hopium hit news. Sin Futures came out and they said Bitcoin could reach $47,000 by the end of November. The co-founder says, and they know Bitcoin and they do a lot of analysis. And this is published by the Block Pro. But how do they get that number? Well, they see a whole bunch of bullish trends. But I also see a whole bunch of very bullish signals, like we've covered, like the hardness, etc. But they expect, first of all, October ended very positively. November is called Moonvember or Movember, whatever you want to call it. And this almost always does better than October or Uptober. Also, there's been a big increase in spot volume, which is great. The large transactions over $100,000 shows you the amount of institutional interest happening on the sidelines as well. Retail aren't in there. It's all institutional. And last week, we saw $325 million come into the crypto sector, with $296 million of that hitting Bitcoin directly. That's a big chunk of change, ladies and gentlemen. And also the options market shows a ton, and I've shared all this before, a ton of call options for $40,000, $45,000 and $50,000 betting on Bitcoin's price rise. There is just nothing but crazy on-chain, crazy CME, crazy options action, all pointing to the same way. And again, to go back to this, only 10% is available. All right, that's not very much. If big money comes in fast, maybe that 47K is possible. I think it's a bit of a stretch though. But anyway, that's from Sin Futures. My job is to share the news and my opinion of that news. Next, Fear and Greed is at 68, which is high. We had a little bit of a dip to 66 last time I showed, but 68 means greedy. People are hungry. They want to get their chops on some Bitcoin as quickly as possible. And that's a bullish sign. Also, this is cool. And I watch this every single day. And we just had a big uptick. It's hard to see because this map goes out over a decade plus. This is from the Bitcoin strategy platform. But you can see here, I zoomed in on the right-hand side to show you that uptick in liquidity that I've been waiting for. And here it is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, global liquidity is going up. A portion of that global liquidity will flow into Bitcoin, which will bring the price up too, which technically supports the thesis for maybe a 47K or maybe a 40K Bitcoin. Remember, my target was 35 to 42K by the halving. We're already smashed to basically 35,000. We're pretty much at 35,000 right now. And we're nearly 6 months away still. Insane. Anyway, let's talk about other good news for Ethereum for a second. This is a bullish sign. Ethereum whales pull $16 million in ETH from Binance. You know, it's when people dump their coins onto an exchange, it's to sell. When they pull it off, it means they got no intention of selling, which is a bullish sign for Ethereum. And Ethereum has done very well over the last couple of days. It has been lagging behind Bitcoin all year. In fact, somebody pointed out a video I made. I made a video of Solana versus Ethereum about 4 or 5 months ago in a face-off. And basically I said, Solana is stupid cheap at the conclusion. There's no way it should be at this price. And somebody said it aged very well. So I'll add a link here if I remember later. Anyway, let's look at one of our dashboards. Now we have hundreds of them. This is the crypto compendium. It shows you the top changes for the top 50 last week over the last 7 days. And you can see Rune, which is what they call Thorchain, is now number 1. Solana is number 2 and Near is number 3. Of course, the bigger the beast, the slower they move. But it's nice to see that. And of course, on the bottom right, you got Bitcoin Cash, Maker, and Quant not doing very well at all. But remember, Maker had a bit of a run and Bitcoin Cash had a big run early in the year because people get confused and they think it's real Bitcoin, but it's not. The top 50 over the last 30 days, Injective number 1, Solana number 2, and Rune number 3. So Rune really did pop. And of course, Maker is the weak one over the last 30 days as well. So it's interesting to keep perspective of where the butterflies are floating, which chains are winning, where the money is going. It's all here. Now let's look at some L1, L2 dashboards as well, courtesy of the team at Artemis. Here you can see the winner of the year-to-date gains is Solana, over 325%. The TVL winner is Arbitrum. The fees winner is Tron. The daily active users winner is Optimism. The transactions winner, transaction growth winner is Arbitrum with Solana second. So that is the state of the chains. Notice the chains that aren't mentioned typically aren't going to make it. It's just a fact of life. So if you didn't hear your favorite bag being shouted out, it's not a good sign. Also, another good news too. People, I guess, since back in 2017, people were waiting for this thing Tether to blow up and die and kill Bitcoin. Well, it's not going to crash. Let me explain why. They are making a ton of money. Having a stablecoin is a very lucrative business to get into. But let's break down exactly what their reserves look like. First of all, they have $2.1 billion in Bitcoin. $2.1 billion out of the $84.5 billion. It's not a huge percentage, but it's over 1%. And remember, that asset's going up. Plus, they're making over 5% on their treasury bills. 74 billion is making 5%, so it's growing like crazy too. And you can see now they have $4.3 billion in excess returns, excess reserves. And there's no doubt in my mind that they had a hole maybe sometime over the last 5 years, but not enough to implode the whole thing. Now they are minting money, not only being invested in assets, hard assets like Bitcoin, also treasuries that are paying them 5%. Thank you to the Fed for destroying everything. There are always beneficiaries. Every cloud has a silver lining, etc. But that is huge. So no, don't ever worry about the Tether FUD anymore. They are minting money. And they plan to also, any excess reserves, the money they have coming in, they're going to invest in Bitcoin. They are now one of the biggest buyers of Bitcoin too. So again, the hardness, it's like who out there is actually not buying Bitcoin? That's the question. Everybody is. Let's look at stocks this week real quick. A sea of green. As I said, it was very clear from the S&P 500 chart I shared yesterday that it was going to be a great November, especially after a weak October. October was horrible. Everything mean reverts. That's how it works. Everything was really, really green last week. Big names up a lot. Tesla up nearly 7%, Amazon up nearly 7%, Google up nearly 7%, Apple 5%, Microsoft 7%, Nvidia up a whopping 13%. All the big disruptive names did really well. And of course, I just have to ignore all the Nvidia FUD on my feed. It's a weird human characteristic when people, they see things going up and they get so toxic, they hate it. And it's weird because when things go down and they own it, they hate it too. So it's like, does anything ever make people happy in the markets where they go up and down? I don't know. It's a huge problem. Be on the right horses, ladies and gentlemen, and be off those horses before they do go down as well. Very important. Now, why is November also going to be good for stocks? Well, historically, going back to 1950, it is awesome. Since 1950, you can see almost the best returns. The past 20 years, the best returns. The past 10 years, by far the best returns. And post-election years, the best returns too. So overall, November is great for stocks. If history repeats. Sometimes history is different. Oftentimes it repeats. Now, there is nothing but an absolute storm of FUD about EV sales slowing down. They're not. They're growing up. This is an S-curve out to 2022. Yes, the majority of companies that make EVs make crappy ones at very high prices. Therefore, they are not selling. But trust me, this BEV revolution is happening. No ifs, ands, or buts. And about 60 to 70% of cars in the next 5 years that are sold, new cars, will be battery electric vehicles. The question is, who's going to be leading? Well, I think it's this company, Tesla. Tesla are now promised. Elon Musk was in Berlin, Germany yesterday. And he said the Model 2 is coming not only to Austin, where they're testing out a line, then they're going to build it in Giga Mexico for other part of the world. And then they're also now going to build it in Berlin. This Model 2 is happening. It's happening. It's going to cost $25,000 and it'll be here within 1 to 2 years. So exciting times ahead for Tesla. And once they have that, there will be no other car company that can even get close to the technology, the safety, the efficiency, the extremely low cost of operation. I've got one outside the door here for 5 years nearly. Cost me nothing in 5 years. Nothing. I still have the same tires. It's unbelievable. I don't even know how these tires are still there after nearly 50,000 miles. Full thread. I don't know. Maybe I don't drive crazy enough. Who knows? Anyway, Elon, once again, does the impossible. Starlink, which is part of SpaceX, is now cash flow positive, making break even. And it makes an IPO more attractive. And a lot of talk about how that will IPO, whether they're going to spin it out from SpaceX, etc. We're not sure. Possibly, yes. But remember, there are now over 2 million global subscribers, both commercial and private retail, that have Starlink. And they also have the majority of satellites in space too. And they've done this by using reusable rockets, which nobody thought was possible. Just like they thought a Tesla Semi would never be physically possible because of the weight. All wrong again. Don't doubt this man. The other thing that's important too is I don't even know how he does everything. I feel very guilty every day that I don't work hard enough because this guy works so much harder. XAI is launching real soon and subscribers will get early access to XAI. Now, he wanted to build an AI that's better than ChatGPT, etc., and all the other things that are out there. But what's beautiful about this one, and I don't have the full grasp of what it is, but from what I can gather, researching last night and this morning, and I'm obsessed with AI as well. A lot of my portfolio is invested in AI type companies, but you can see here they are now going to use the vast data set of Twitter to refine their learning algorithms. Like they feed their cars for FSD, videos of people driving, they will be feeding the AI information from Twitter, which is real time. Okay. And this data-driven approach is expected to really smash other AI solutions out there. Also, it's going to, obviously it's designed to compete with OpenAI's ChatGPT with a distinct approach to user interaction that includes both humor and sarcasm, almost human-like. Of course, you can get the humor and sarcasm from Elon. And it'll have a unique conversational style. It will also effectively provide more entertaining and engaging experience. And you'll be able to pull and create content around anything in real time using this model because it has real-time information, unlike other AI models. That is going to be quite powerful. It'll also be integrated with X Premium services, and it'll be available to all X Premium Plus subscribers after its early beta phase. So expect that in the coming, I guess, weeks or months or whatever, but that'll be fun to watch too. Remember, AI will be a huge part of our lives. Embrace it. Don't run away from it. Let's talk a little bit about debt, because this is why Bitcoin is going to go up so much. All right. Governments and central banks are deluding themselves into thinking that unlimited deficit spending financed by unlimited money printing won't cause inflation. That's why when I don't even listen to Jerome Powell anymore, because it is so ridiculous. They have printed an additional $3 trillion just in the past couple of months. It's insane. It's completely insane. We are now way beyond the point of no return. Therefore, some type of reset's going to happen. Therefore, you want to be in hard assets, because with this amount of debt, which is funded by a huge amount of money printing, means your fiat is melting faster than ever before. In the past, I'd say if you had $100 after 10 years, you have like $46, $50 of purchasing power. That's only going to accelerate. So that $100 after another 10 years will be worth about $30. And after that, another 10 years, it'll be worth about $100 will go to about, I don't know, $15. It's insane. So be careful out there, everybody. Get some hard assets. In addition, speaking of government numbers, this is a great little chart from Joe Consorti. And I did a video yesterday on jobs because it's just such a joke, but you need to be aware of this. But now there is a record number of people in the United States that have 2 or more. Many have 3 jobs. That's 8.356 million people have 2 or more jobs. But the government counts them as if they're individuals. So if I have 3 jobs, I'm like 3 workers, but I'm the same guy. It's bizarre. And in sad news for some of the states too, the mass exodus continues, where people are running from their high-tax states. The latest to bounce is Jeff Bezos, and he's saying, bye-bye, Seattle, moving to Miami. This has been happening at an accelerated pace ever since C19 began. These multi-billionaires that pay a huge amount in taxes are leaving these high-tax states. Message to the high-tax states, get your act together fast, or else you will have no tax base. Okay? It's that simple. But they don't realize that till it's too late. Anyway, I'm just a guy on the internet. What the hell do I know? Thank you all for coming. Thank you to everybody on Patreon. Thank you to everybody here in the chat too. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back tomorrow with a monster Q&A. Started working on yesterday, including tons of really tricky questions. So crunching through all those numbers today and tomorrow morning. I'll see you tomorrow. Noon Pacific. That is, I think, 8 p.m. Central European time or 9. I'm not sure. And also, we got a special DCA show on CTO's channel on Monday, too. A lot of good stuff coming. Thank you all. Hit the like on the way out if you want like type of content. And remember to be subscribed to the channel. See you later. Bye-bye.